Hey gang, my inner circle. I'm gonna come to you with these videos on a regular basis right up until I leave on that 10,000 nautical mile sailing voyage. I've got three main areas I wanna discuss with you, and since you are my inner circle, you are the one I'm gonna take the most input from, I guess. I mean, I tell people on the regular channel, put comments down below what you think of this, that, the other thing. I listen to them, I comment on every one. If you ever look at those comments, check them out. I respond to every single one, pretty much, unless it's a really nasty comment, which is very rare. So yeah, I obviously listen to the regular viewers, but I want to make sure you guys have the most input. You are the people that show that you really truly love the channel and care about its growth and getting better. So I trust your input more than the average viewer who might only watch one or two of my videos and then move on to some other channel. So also want to pay you back for your graciousness in helping support the channel. Like, your money definitely goes towards buying new equipment, new lenses, new drones, whatever. That's where my money from you goes. So I really, really do appreciate it. So let's get on to those three areas I wanted to discuss. First of all, I asked in the video that just came out today to the general viewers, I mentioned I was going to talk to my patrons about this and get their input, but I also said to comment below, and a lot of viewers have already commented, but I want to know if you agree. I have a GH5 and a GH4 that both shoot in 4K. Now the GH4 shoots in 4K at 30 frames a second. The GH5 shoots at 60 frames a second. So I can get slightly slow-mo in 4K with the GH5. Unfortunately, my GH4 can't do anything above 30 frames a second. And my G7X Mark II, which is kind of my vlogging camera that's good in low light, doesn't shoot in anything above 1080p. So I'm seriously leaning towards shooting everything in 1080p so I don't have some footage in 4K and some footage in 1080, and then I'm trying to render and I'm trying to decide, do I want to upscale the 1080 and try and make it into a 4K timeline, or do I want to downscale the 4K into a 1080, in which case what's the point of shooting in 4K and having such huge files? So I guess you can kind of tell I'm leaning towards 1080p, and then just as a foreshadow, don't want it to affect your decision as what you tell me to do, but the viewers have almost all said, don't even waste your time with 4K. We wouldn't care if it's in 1080p. And when I really think about it, that's probably true. YouTube is generally consumed on tablets, iPhones, laptops, and occasionally on a TV. And even on the ones that are on Apple TV or whatever, most people don't have a TV that's 4K. And if it is in 4K, they don't really notice the difference, even if it isn't a good 1080p. So yeah, so I think the answer is going to be 1080p, but definitely comment what you think. 4K or 1080p. Now, when it comes to commenting, there's two ways I want you to do it. When I release these videos that only you guys can see, it's going to be on YouTube, but it's going to be an unlisted video, which means anybody else that goes to my YouTube channel won't see these videos. You guys, through Patreon, will get an email saying that there's a Patreon update, and the question, I'll put the title as generally what the biggest question I have for you guys is, and then you guys will know there's a video that only you guys can see. It's unlisted. When you go on YouTube, from the link from Patreon, you will go to an unlisted video. Now, as my thanks to Patreon, that's free for you guys. Obviously, it won't count as one of the videos that you guys get charged for. It's just free. I'm going to throw these out there regularly. And if you want to forward that link to anyone you know who is a fan of the channel, go ahead. That's my gift to you. You can share that link with other people. I don't care if other people who aren't patrons see it through you guys. But I don't want the general public to see it, because the problem is then when they start commenting on the video, I'm going to think, I don't have this many patrons. How do I have 150 comments on something and I only have whatever number of patrons? So yeah, so anyways, if you're a patron, definitely when you're writing below those videos in the comments, write, hey, it's me, and I'll recognize your name from the patron and I'll know it's a patron. If some other random name shows up there, I'm gonna assume it's a friend of a patron, and it won't hold as much weight as a real patron. So anyways, there you go. The other thing, if you have a lot of questions for me or a lot of comments, always feel free to email me for the longer form stuff at cruisingoffduty@gmail.com. Good thing about email is I tend to keep those people in my contacts, and if I have questions for them, if I know where they're from or what they're about, I might even email you back. If it's a comment on a video, I read it, I respond to it, and it's gone. New comments come in and your comment ends up going so far down the list I never see it again. So yeah, definitely if you want a little more one-on-one conversation, definitely go to cruisingoffduty@gmail.com, the email, and send it there. And also, of course, mention in the email that you're a patron, because I do get emails from regular viewers as well. So there you go. For the first question was 1080p or 4K. I think we kind of solved that one already, but definitely if you have a good, strong reason for me shooting things in 4K, put it in the comments or put it in an email. The second question kind of goes in line with that is I almost always produce at 30 frames per second. It's kind of the TV standard, and YouTube tends to look a lot like TV, so a lot of people shoot and film in 30 frames a second and render on Final Cut Pro, which is my software, at 30 frames a second. Now there is some merit to doing things in 24 frames per second. It's more cinematic. Movies tend to be shot in a 24 frames per second thing. It looks more movie-like to do it in 24. So I'm starting to wonder if I shouldn't, because this voyage is going to be more cinematic at times, whether I shouldn't make the whole thing in 24 frames per second. The other upside to that is that if I slow things down, since I'm only shooting 24 frames a second, or rendering 24, if I shoot at 60 frames a second or 90 frames a second, it gives me that much slower ability to do slow motion. So that's the upside. The downside, I guess, to 24 frames a second is because there's less frames per second, it could at times look, for fast moving objects, jittery. If something's going through the screen fast, like a bird flies by, because there's less frames, it might be like the bird jitters across the screen. So I don't know. I might have to test that. But give me your input whether you think it should be 24 or 30 frames per second. The next thing is, do I do it as a daily vlog style where I get up in the morning and I talk about how I'm feeling? You know, it was crazy last night, it was windy, it was choppy, it was bouncy, whatever, and how I'm feeling, and then go on to my shift, or what's it like to make food on a bouncing boat, what's it like to be alone at night, overnight, and it's more of a me talking to the camera, and then I throw in some cinematic shots in between, but more of a daily vlog. Now, if it's a daily vlog, there's going to be a lot more episodes because I'm going to do almost an episode every single day. The upside, I guess for you guys, you get more episodes. The upside for me, editing, it's way easier to decide when does this video start and when does this video end based on what day it is. Now, granted, if nothing happens for some reason on an entire day, we're just, I don't know, everything's the same as the day before, and for whatever reason I don't feel like there's anything new to add, I might squish 2 days into one episode. We'll see. But one option is kind of a daily vlog where I do a lot more talking to the camera, my feelings, what I'm seeing, what I'm thinking, what I'm, you know, whatever. And the other option is to treat it more like a documentary where I'm doing more voiceovers, I'm doing more just cinematics. I combine a bunch of days into one episode, say, you know, here we are, here's where the dolphins are swimming in front of the boat, and then nothing else happened that day, so I only shoot the dolphins, and the next day something else happens, I shoot that. And then it's more not my personality on camera, it's more cinematic, more more of a documentary. So what I'm thinking right now is I'm leaning more towards the daily vlog style. It's more personal, and I'm getting a lot of comments from viewers that they like that personal, kind of like the monologue on the screen and then some cinematics. They tend to enjoy that more than just a kind of cinematic documentary style. So let me know what you think. Again, I'm leaning one way, as you can tell, but I'm always willing to look at the other side of the coin if people give me good reasons. So that's the next one. And then the final thing is start giving me questions. I've been responding nonstop to questions all the time in my comments, but I don't write them down. I tend to respond at the time. I see a comment as a question, oh, that's a good question, and I respond to it. And then, like I say, the comments just go off the screen as new comments come in, and I never think about it again. And then maybe a week later, I get a comment or a question, and I go, hey, I think I've answered this before. So this would be a good opportunity, especially if I'm doing a daily vlog, to do a question of the day sort of thing, where if I start making a journal log of all the really good questions I've gotten, and I remember who posted the question, I'll give them credit, say, hey, so-and-so asked me this, and then I ask, every day I can say, somebody asked me this question, and then I answer it, and that's my question of the day. The next day I wake up, and part of that day's thing is the question of the day. It could be totally unrelated to the voyage we're on. It could be something about how can we afford to do X, Y, Z, or why are we spending money on this kind of catamaran instead of this kind of catamaran in the future, yada, yada. Who knows what the questions could be. But every day could be a different question. I think that'd be a cool addition to the channel to do the question of the day. And if it's popular, it's something I'll probably continue into my summer sailing season back here in Canada when I eventually get back here and sail my own boat. Maybe the question of the day thing will be a permanent thing. So, assuming that's a good idea, I need questions, good questions. And I thought if I get them from the patrons, I definitely want to give you guys credit over the average viewer. So if it's a question you ask me, but I know I've been asked that question before by some other viewer at some point in the past, I'll say, oh, well, Patreon member so-and-so asked me this. And then I'll give you credit for the question, even though I might have been asked the exact same question 2 weeks earlier by someone else. So definitely do that. Send me questions on any topic that you think would be interesting to any viewer. And I'll just start writing a logbook, and yeah, I'll put those in the episodes. Now, granted, if I get questions and comments about a video, I'll respond to them at the time, but if I think it's a good question, I'll write it in my logbook, and I'll probably bring it up as a question of the day during the voyage. Mostly because most people don't ever read the comments below a video, so I might have answered it in the comments, but nobody's read it, so 99.9% of the viewers have never heard the answer. So doing a question of the day on camera definitely makes sure that everybody gets to see the answer or hear the answer. So there we go. So those are the things. So what are they? 4K or 1080p? I think we pretty much have agreed 1080p, but if you have another reason for 4K, let me know. 24 or 30 frames a second. I'm a little more on the fence on that one. 30 is what I'm used to. 24 might be more cinematic, but then again, it could be jittery at times for fast moving things. Who knows? I'd have to, almost before I go, I'd have to try and do some quick moving shots in 24 and see if it gets jittery, but assuming it's not too bad, should I go 24 or 30? Do you want a daily vlog style where I talk to the camera and give you my feelings and let you know what I'm thinking? Or do you want just kind of a documentary style? And the last thing is questions for the question of the day. Do you think that's a good idea? If so, fire me tons of questions. And the best way to do that is either you can do it on Patreon, then I definitely know it's from a patron. The other thing is send me an email at cruisingoffduty@gmail.com, and in there just mention at the top, hey, it's so-and-so, one of your patrons, and then give me the question. I do get emails from regular viewers, but I always want to give you guys credit for the questions, and I'll obviously put a little more weight on the questions you guys give me than the average viewer. So there you go. That's my thanks to you. Hopefully you enjoyed this. I want to do a lot more of these. They're fun and I like the feeling of community, and I want to build the Patreon to be that inner circle community. I love my viewers. I love the community I built there, but yeah, you guys are you're more special. So I want to make sure you guys get the credit you deserve. So there we go. Hopefully you enjoyed it. You don't have to give it a thumbs up or all that because it's just you and me on Patreon. So there we go. So you'll get an email probably because Patreon, I'll post it on Patreon with a link. You'll get an email saying there's a new Patreon update video, and then when you click on that link, it'll go to YouTube, but it'll be unlisted, so nobody else will see it but you guys. There we go. So that's it. Signing off for now. Have a great day. Ciao.